Thank you very much, Lasmina, for your kind words. Thank you so much for your hospitality. Thank you so much to Mark Donfrit and the Institute for Cultural Diplomacy, not only because of this event, but all the efforts that you're doing to create a platform for dialogue, which is very much needed these days. So, respectful dignitaries, dear friends, we live in a moment of transition that is both uncertain and defining. The world, we know, that very world shaped by a single dominant order, is giving way to something more complex. This is not simply the end of one system and the birth of another, but an interregnum, or a time between two times, or time between two epochs, where what was certain has lost its footing and what is to come has yet to take shape. I just want to share some warning data. At a systematic scale, democracy that once flourished as the voice of the people, is facing a steady decline. The world has entered a democratic recession, with 47% of countries showing decline in key democratic indicators over the past 5 years. VDAM data shows that 45 countries are autocratizing now, 27 of which were once democratic. In total, over 70% of the world population lives under autocratic rule, and up to 48% just a decade ago, as pointed out by Edinburgh University and Institute. The Economist Intelligence Unit reports that freedom has declined for 19 consecutive years, with 60 countries in backslide and nearly 40% of elections marked by violence and repression in 2024 alone. Out of 104 established democracies, 52 are now regressing. These are not abstract numbers. These numbers are warning that the very foundation of democracy are weakening while global challenges multiply. And these challenges are many. Inequality grows, migration increases, climate change displaces millions, the digital age brings cyber attacks and surveillance, populism and nationalism, fracture cooperation, and I also believe that we are suffering from an overdose of political correctness, and we are also suffering from the world that has been led by political egomaniacs, I'm afraid. Furthermore, even the institution built to safeguard peace falter. As Antonio Guterres said, the United Nations, or more precisely the Security Council, is paralyzed at the very moment when the world most needed. The debate on reform is not new, as Miguel Angel Moratinos, the Undersecretary General and the High Representative of Alliance of Civilizations, noted, reforming the Security Council is nearly impossible. But if that door is closed, another must be opened. That means bringing more power to the General Assembly, the one forum where every nation has a voice. If the Council reflects the world of 1945, then the Assembly must reflect the world of today. Diverse world, multipolar world, interdependent world. Sovereignty too is under pressure. We live in an age of something that I like to call desovereignization, or a period where powers and decisions drift beyond the control of nations. But we also see efforts of resovereignization as states and communities try to reclaim agency over their futures. This tension defines our era, between integration and independence, but also between surrendering authority and reasserting it. And we cannot forget the very order of sovereignty that we inherit, the Westphalian model, no longer fully holds. Ours is a post-Westphalian age where borders blur while independence depends, and no nation can resolve its challenges alone. This is why multilateralism matters. As imperfect and paralyzed as it may sometimes seem, we do not have the luxury to replace it. But I must also voice one concern. I'm afraid that today we do not have a generation of leaders like the one after 1945. Leaders who could achieve consensus and create documents of such magnitude as the Charter of the United Nations and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These visionaries, emerging from a devastation of war, understood that compromise and cooperation were matters of survival. I'm skeptical that our present generation could, under these current conditions, rise to such a level of unity and ambition. And this is why beneath all this crisis lies the same missing cornerstone, and that's peace. Here in Scotland, we can draw wisdom from its great philosophers. We mentioned a couple of times, David Hume reminded us that the justice and stability are born not from coercion, but from convention rooted in trust. Today, I'm afraid we don't trust each other. We are skeptical and we are cynical. Furthermore, Adam Smith showed that sympathy, meaning our ability to imagine ourselves in the place of others, is the glue that holds communities together. And Adam Smith was clear about what is truly required for prosperity. And I will quote, "Little else is needed but peace, easy taxes, and a tolerable administration of justice. Without peace, justice becomes impossible. This is why the theme of this forum that we are gathered today upon, innovation, development, culture, and exchange as very important keywords, can only stand on the foundation of peace. Yes, we are speaking about global innovation, but instead of serving humanity, it's too often harnessed to design new weapons, new drones, new ways to destroy rather to create. The second keyword, development, which should be lifting people out of poverty, is instead diverted into swelling military budgets and fueling arms races. And what of culture? Instead of dialogue, diversity, and the flourishing of human spirit, we find cultures consumed by propaganda, by fear, by the narratives of enmity rather than the languages of art, literature, and music. And as for exchange, and this is the most bitter irony of all, instead of trading goods, instead of trading ideas or friendships across borders, nowadays, unfortunately, nations are trading coffins. Young lives lost on battlefields sent back to silence to grieving families. Only in peace can innovation serve humanity, development bring dignity and culture, nurture understanding. And of course, only in peace, exchange can bring and breed society together. But today we're drifting in what Erich Fromm once described a vacuum where both optimists and pessimists refuse to act. The optimist says everything is fine, the pessimist says nothing can change. So both of them are doing nothing. Zygmunt Bauman called this the crisis of modernity, a liquid age where institutions are fragile, bonds unstable, and power divorced from politics. Yes, we are frequently repeating that we are in a transition, but Bauman reminded us that no transition is possible unless we know both point A, where we are, and point B, where we want to go. Too often we know what must be done, but not who will do it. This is the deeper question, and that question is who will lead? Who will bear responsibility when others hesitate? There is something that Michael Hobb popularized, and this is a famous proverb that all of you are aware of, I think. Hard times create strong men create good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times. Can we break that cycle? Can we summon leaders with courage, with vision, and not with excuses and hesitations? Our main problem lies within the outdated and selfish leadership, I believe. There are rare exceptions, of course, but we need more leaders focused on the common good because the common good is the only good. And of course, youth must be part of these new processes. Nearly half of the world population is under 30, yet only 2.8% of parliamentarians are 30 or younger. Even in Europe, only 1/3 of MPs are under 45. This gap is not sustainable. If young people are excluded, democracy itself will become hollow. But don't mistake this as a dismissal of older generations. We need the wisdom and memory of those who came before us. Renewal must mean connection, youth and elders working together, energy that is guided by memory while the innovation will be anchored in wisdom. Arnold Toynbee once said that we may see further than the previous generations only because we stand on the shoulders of giants. And Alex Salmond was such a political giant. Whatever one's views on independence, he gave Scotland the courage to ask the most fundamental of all democratic questions. Does a nation have the right to choose its own path? His leadership was a profound moment in Scotland's long struggle for recognition, dignity, and self-determination. That struggle echoes far beyond Scotland's borders. It speaks to the universal tension between identity and power. Also, it speaks to the tension between belonging and autonomy, or if you like, between the pressure of international order and the dignity of people. We Macedonians know this feeling all too well. Our own story has been marked by the painful paradox of dignity and pressure. Just as Macedonia endured the painful paradox of changing its own name to belonging to the global community, Scotland too has wrestled with the question of how to define itself in the world of larger powers. Both stories remind us that peace, democracy, innovation are only sustainable when they are grounded in respect for identity and dignity. I believe our issues are not political ones, they are dignity issues. Dear friends, more than 50 years ago, Deep Purple released a haunting anthem, Child in Time, band and a song that I grew up with. Ian Gillan, who wrote the lyrics and is here with us these 3 days, sang, "Sweet child in time, you'll see the line that's drawn between good and bad." Gillan's message is not only political, but deeply human. Then, at that time, it echoed against Vietnam and the Cold War, but today, the child in time is every innocent child in Gaza, in Kharkiv, in Gapul, in Sudan. Children who inherit wars they never choose. The song asks us to reflect on the cost of cruelty, injustice, and indifference. As Mr. Young Gillan sang, see the blind man shooting at the world, bullets flying, taking toll. If you're being bad, oh Lord, I bet you have, and you not been hit by flying lead, you'd better close your eyes, bow your head, wait for the ricochet. The songs warn of blind leaders firing at the world, oblivious to the ricochet. And in truth, violence always ricochets, returning to the wounds, not to the innocent only, but to those who unleash it. Unless we break that cycle, the ricochet of violence will keep on returning, and generation will suffer from it. Or, as the Rolling Stones once sang, war, children, is just a shot away, but love is also a kiss away. Let's choose love. Thank you very much.